Hello and welcome to the first of what we hope is several Pack Kid flashbacks, where we visit a student that has been a Pack Kid spotlight back when they were a student. And it seemed just as well to start off with our very first Pack Kid spotlight. This is Mr. John Mize.
Hello.
How long ago was that?
Oh, gosh. You want to make me feel old.
Well, when did you graduate? You can't feel any older than me. When did you graduate?
I graduated high school in 2005, so I guess it would have been like '04.
Okay.
Yeah.
And what school did you go to?
North Hardin High School.
And who was your drama coach or music teacher at that time?
Honestly, you, because you and Mr. Zagar, Andy Zagar, were pretty much the only drama that I had. Because my North Hardin had a drama department, but it wasn't very involved, so I kind of just did a lot of Pack stuff. Pack was kind of my first jump into it.
Gotcha. I think you'd be really surprised and proud to see what's been happening at North Hardin in the time since you left it. That both of those programs have really grown. Well, you mentioned Mr. Zagar. Just share just a little bit about your experience with him and how you, because he was not your teacher there at North Hardin. How did you get to work with him?
My first show with Youth Theater of Hardin County was Hello Dolly, and I just on a whim auditioned after a little shot because of you, because you told me to audition. So I auditioned, and I got a lead. So, and he directed that. So that's kind of where I met him, and then he just became one of my mentors along with you. So.
Sorry about that.
No, it went well. You guys both helped me a lot.
I'm all to blame. It's all my fault. Why did you get involved in theater? What was the pull other than me pushing you to go do things? Why did you continue to do it? What was it that about performing or being with people that performed? Did it feel some need for you?
I mean, definitely, because I always grew up this really eccentric kid, attention type of child, and I never really had an outlet of where to put that. So then when theater kind of popped up, because before the Pack, there was little community theaters here and there, but there wasn't anything like that. And when that kind of just came about, it was just kind of like destiny type of thing. And it really kind of gave me an outlet to really express who I am and kind of also figure out who I am, because I used to kind of stifle my energy and my personality a little bit when I was around people because they weren't theater people. So when I found more theater people, I just kind of flourished into what you see before you.
And what are you doing these days?
So after college, I went to Wright State and then for a few years. And then I was given a scholarship at Northern Kentucky. So then I switched to Northern Kentucky University, where I graduated. And then I moved to New York City for a little bit and did that whole fun time, and it was great. And then I decided that I wanted to be closer back to my family, which, my family's all from here. So moved back, but I live in Cincinnati, Ohio now. So I'm not in Hardin County, but I'm close enough to visit. I'm actually, I kind of do theater for fun now. I didn't turn it into a career per se, but I still have that artistic side of me and I still get to express it. I've directed some things, choreographed, costume designed some shows, as well as being in things. But I do theater as much as I can. Not right now during all of this, so I do theater, and I'm in sales, which honestly, theater and acting, that's sales. I literally act every day of my life.
Well, and I think there's a lot to be said. Theater is a very tough profession that, if we all went into theater, we'd all be standing on the street corner, because, it's a very difficult profession. So there's a lot to be said for pursuing theater as a hobby, pursuing theater as a side gig. There's a lot of therapy from, getting away from the stress of your normal day to become somebody else, in a theater production. I think that's at the root of a lot of community theater people. It helps them get through the grind.
Oh yeah, no, I definitely agree with that, because when I moved back from New York, it wasn't necessarily like the best time of my life. It was actually because I didn't really choose to move back. I kind of had to move back, and it was sad, and I was in a really dark place or whatever, but I didn't do any theatrical stuff when I lived in New York, really. So moving back and being able to jump back into that and be back with my people, like, it brought me back to life pretty much. So I really kind of rediscovered who I was, and then just discovered that I really just want to do this for fun, and which, no shame in that. It was a great time. And Cincinnati is insane when it comes to theaters. We have like over 50 theatrical groups up here, community theater groups. It's just a pool of extremely talented people up here that like is insane. Like, you would not think that, and it's crazy here. So you have a lot of people that do it as a hobby, but they treat it like professional, which is great.
Right. And that was always the kind of thing that I was looking to do with what is now called the PAC Pro-Am Productions, which wasn't called that when you were involved, but because we have a really strong community theater group and we have a really strong youth theater group. So I was really trying to find that middle ground. So what is the thing that we can add that the other groups are busy doing and can't fulfill? And we had this professional space, so it was really trying to bring a professional ethic to things. So. But and where do you do sales?
I work for Verizon Wireless right now, so I'm in wireless sales. So,
and how long have you been with them?
It's not been long. Before that, I was with AT&T for a number of years and was a manager with them, but I left them and hopped on the Verizon train. So,
why is the PAC important to you, to our community? What would you say to someone if they asked you that question?
I mean, the arts in general are insanely important, and they don't get as much recognition for what they can do for people. But even just giving people a home to express themselves, to become artistic, to view a side of themselves that they might not know even exists, or something that they've been hiding or stifling or something, like just being able to express themselves freely. Like, that's kind of what I always saw the PAC as. And it really led me through my entire life and has been through everything. And then beyond that too, like, it is an amazing space. Like, I still tell people that is like the best theater that I've ever worked in. And they're like, oh, where is it? And I'm like, it's in between Radcliffe and Elizabethtown, Kentucky. And they're like, really? And I'm like, it's amazing. And I've worked in professional spaces where Broadway shows are put on, and I still think the PAC is the best theater space I've ever been in. So that aspect is fantastic, and just some place where people can finally express themselves. And you have so many artistic people in Hardin County and the surrounding areas. Without the PAC, like, they wouldn't really be able to find a place to do it, and to do it at that caliber, which is very important.
I, on behalf of everybody at the PAC, I really appreciate that, and I appreciate your time too.
North Hardin, particularly, I mean, it's definitely changed, and I've seen a lot of their improvements, like definitely when it comes to drama and the arts and everything like that. But when I was in high school, it was pretty much band and sports. So like, I never really had a place. I was in band. I was in marching band. And then
I forgot about
theater. I was in marching band, but
what instrument did you play?
I played trumpet for 8 years. So I still get to, I played it in a show once too. I was in The Wedding Singer, and I played George, and I got to play trumpet.
You never know. Special skills.
Yeah.
Put it at the
they
bottom
came
of
up
the
and they were
resume.
like, can you play anything? And I was like, trumpet. And they were like, really? And I was like, yeah, I still have a trumpet. And they were like, okay. So, it didn't sound great, but I played it. So. He wasn't supposed to be good at it. So that's all that matters.
I don't know. So I don't know when we'll be back. I just know that when we can all gather together again, we're all going to have stories to share. And that at its heart is what theater is about, the arts in general. So I know we'll all be okay. It's just getting through this tunnel now.
I said that to my friend too. I was like, I know it's like been a really rough, like 4 years, not to get political, but it's been a rough few years here, and definitely now. And I'm like, but just think about the art that's going to come from this, because good art always comes from really bad things. Like there's going to be a lot of plays and shows and musicals that tie into all of this, and it's going to be fantastic. So I'm excited about that. And it's just weird too, because theater people are always very touchy-feely and close-knit and hugging, and I'm like, God, could you imagine trying to do a theater show right now and being like, I can't be a theater person right now.
It's very interesting. All right.
Yeah.
Man, I'm going to let you go, but it sure is good to see and talk to you.
Yeah, you too. Okay.
All right. I miss you.
Bye. Miss you too. Bye.
My next guest is Miss Carmen Caldera-Bratska with the Elizabethtown Performing Arts Center. Hello.
Hello.
And how are you this fine day?
I am good. How are you?
Doing okay. We're all in intermission right now.
Yes.
And this is a very long intermission.
It is the longest intermission of all time.
Yes, yes. And I know that we're all struggling with how to work through this time and how to plan for the future and what that means.
Yes.
You are remaining connected with your students.
Yes.
In several different ways.
Yes. To me, that is the most important thing that I can be doing right now, because our students are going through the same thing that we are. They're not immune to being lonely and confused and anxious and all of the feelings we have as adults. The kids are having too, regardless of their age. So from the very beginning, when we started the Panthers Together Apart, the reading thing that we did with the middle and high school reading for the younger kids, from that point on, that has been my sole focus, is how do I keep them engaged? How do I keep them focused on something positive? And being there for each other when they can't be together. So that has been my focus.
And, you know, what we're really talking about here is art therapy.
Yes.
On a broader level.
Yes.
So what are the things, you know, for those of us who may be watching the show who, you know, haven't ever been on stage, haven't been involved in group performance activities like chorus or band, what are the things that you can help your students deal with through the performing arts that you're working with online?
Well, first of all, we have to think of the arts broadly, because there are so many components. There's creative writing. You know, have your student keep a journal of how they feel each day, or have them write something positive down every day in that journal. They can write their negative feelings too, but
just
help them
being able to put them in words.
Yes.
And get them out of your head onto the page.
Yes.
Yeah.
And they don't have to do anything with it. If they write a short story and they don't want anybody to ever see it, they can rip it up, they can burn it, whatever. But they have gotten that from their brain to the page, and that can act as a release. Some people aren't writers. They prefer visual arts. So if you've got little ones, give them crayons and some blank printer paper and, you know, ask them, how do you feel today? Draw me a picture. Or where would you like to go today that we can't go? Draw that for me. And then have them tell you about what they drew. And you will be surprised what feelings come out in their art. And that's really what art therapy is usually the visual arts. But then you have kids that don't like to write and they don't like to draw. So find some music. You know, make an instrument. You can make a drum out of a coffee can. Or, I guess now they're not cans, they're jugs. I'm a Keurig girl, so I don't really think those things. But
Big tiny little drum.
Itty little finger drum. But you can make instruments. You know, if you're a parent that's at home with your child, you can Pinterest any kind of instrument.
Pots and pans.
Yes. You can find anything. And just let them bang out their frustrations and make some music. There are tons of videos online for singing with your child and dancing. You know, you can even, if you've got just dance with your kid. And then for theater, which of course is my love, we are doing free online drama workshops for grades 3 through 12. E-Town students only, because that's who we serve.
That's your server, yeah.
But they are all online, so we're still keeping them healthy at home.
And what does that
look like? What does that?
It's going to look different for each grade level. I've been doing a lot of webinars and trainings through the Educational Theater Association. We can't have as long of a workshop because generally in the summer we have 4-hour workshops and we just take a break and walk down and have lunch. And other than that, we are working the entire time. So now we're online an hour and a half to 2 hours a day. We meet once in the morning to kind of go over everything. We have a Google Classroom, and I created a virtual EPAC, which was a really fun thing to learn how to do. But there's Easter eggs. Like they can click on a bust of Shakespeare and go listen to professional Shakespeare readings. They can click on a video camera and learn how to record their own audition and tips for making that the best that it can be. Because we're going a lot now to video auditions.
Oh, yes, yeah.
And then in the afternoon, we meet for an hour and we do improv games. And there are so many fun online improv games that you can do. So it's like this whole new world of improv has opened up of things that you really can't do on stage because they involve the camera. So it also teaches them working with a camera. So that's been really fun. Yesterday was our first day of that, and you've been doing webinars as much as I have.
Yeah.
And you know, you don't have to worry about hair and makeup, but I generally don't worry about the hair and makeup. Sit there in my pajamas, take my notes. Well, I signed on to this one that was supposed to be improvisation, learning about improvisation. So I'm sitting there, my hair up in a messy bun, and my video camera pops on. It was an actual workshop.
We're doing stuff.
Yes, we are doing improv for an hour. So that was a little unsettling.
Wake-up call.
Yes, when your camera just pops on and there you are. But it was fun. And I was like, if I'm having this much fun, the kids will have a blast.
How can people learn more?
The Elizabethtown Performing Arts Center Facebook page and Instagram page. There is a post pinned to the top of the Facebook page. I don't know if you can pin on Instagram. I have not figured that out yet. But
you may have time.
I have plenty of time. But it's pinned to the top of the Facebook, and there is a Google form link that you can go. The high school one started yesterday, so it'll probably be over by the time this airs. But we still have middle and elementary, 3 through 5. And then we have technical theater, which will happen in July.
Cool.
For 8th through 12th grades.
Excellent. Carmen, thank you very much.
Thanks for having me.
My next guest is Miss Carrie Lewis, representing the Hardin County Playhouse. Good day to you, ma'am.
Good day to you.
Thank you for joining us here today.
Thank
I
you.
just noticed you look like a chameleon. You've color coded yourself to go with the set today.
I didn't plan on it, but if it works out that way, I'll say it was part of my strategy.
It just, as I looked over, it's like, yep, there it is.
Yep.
Speaking of being a chameleon, we have all had to change and adapt to what is going on in the world around us right now. What has that meant for Hardin County Playhouse?
It's been really tough for us as a group, as we've talked about, especially with social distancing. A lot of our strengths and a lot of our great brainstorming comes from being together. Collaboration, and the energy and the passion that we feel for what we're doing. And it's not quite the same on Zoom, especially when somebody's got their camera like down here, or it's coming in and out. They've got a bad internet connection. There's lots of difficulties using technology today for all of us, but trying to keep focused in the midst of all this, because how do you plan?
Yeah.
When you don't know, things change from week to week, So we've got various strategies and plans that are just kind of floating and waiting to see, however the little rudder turns.
What are, if you're okay in sharing some of that, what are some of the possibilities that you're looking at?
Well, we had originally talked about having Heather's open in June, and would be having the auditions very soon. That was kind of just up in the air, wait and see what happens. Well, that's have to been scrapped. So we are going to, the plan A is that we're going to open with Death Trap in October, and then we're going to finish up with Heather's in June of 2021. So plan B is, depending on how things go, that we will open our season with Elf the Musical in December, but still finish up with Heathers in 2021.
And I think some folks who maybe aren't as involved with the performing arts as we are may not understand. For example, we have opted not to do our fall musical, which is at the end of September.
Right.
And, I think that can kind of look odd to someone from the outside when they go, September. I mean, the world could be entirely different by September. And let's hope that it is.
Yes.
But the rehearsals for that production would begin the last weekend in July.
Right.
And with the regulations that are out right now, if we were to have a cast member who, God forbid, came down with the virus, then that cast member and all of their social contacts, which would be your cast,
right,
would more than likely have to be quarantined for 14 days. And we just don't have 14 days to spare when you're trying to mount a production.
Exactly. And you can't really sing and rehearse in a mask.
No, that's yet another thing that I'm still trying to wrap my head around too. I think there are some things that you can do, but with the requirements that are out, with what's necessary right this minute, it can be discouraging and disheartening, and we have to kind of figure out what the other side of all of this looks like.
Right, exactly. And it's difficult, for me, especially as I look out and see everything that's going on in the world today. And the one thing that hits me the hardest, I think, is the absence of theater. And I say that not lightly. It sounds lightly and maybe a little shallow, but the one thing that has always impacted me with theater and live performance is the empathy that you gain, as an audience member, as a performer, the connection you have with other people that you don't know, that you're not even anything like. Very diverse groups of people come together, and for just a small moment in time, they are one in an audience or in a show, or the audience and the performers. So you have this tremendous energy, and it's so positive. And see, that's a light that's been kind of snuffed out just a little bit, and I think it shows in our community, and I mean that in a very large way.
Sure.
And I think I hope that's not a loss that continues even after some of these restrictions are removed. I hope that live theater doesn't go away.
Yeah.
Because I think we need it.
Well, I think the pilot light is still on.
Yes.
But we've got to make sure that the gas doesn't get turned off.
Exactly. Exactly. And that's the challenge in community theater. We live off of our ticket sales and donations. We've had a tremendous opportunity in being able to have the space for our very own theater, and we haven't been able to really pursue that. You can't really fundraise during a pandemic. And with the economic things that we're dealing with, there's probably a lot of people who are going to be very cautious about their investments and what they spend. So we're just kind of, wait and see type of thing. But I do believe very strongly that theater is a very positive thing. I've seen lots of obstacles. I've seen lots of shortcomings in so many other areas, and tends to pull through. So I'm a believer, and I always will be. So
that's a great note to leave things on.
I think so.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
'Cause you got to love it, yeah. So time, 'cause I'm moving on the groove. 'Cause you got to love it, yeah. So time, 'cause I'm moving on the groove.
There's no easy way to say this, so I'm just going to blurt it out. We bought our cat a harness and a leash. I know. Our cat Oz also thought the harness was a stupid idea. But it's really the only way to not accidentally choke the poor animal. The instructions on the thing were rather vague. You slip one end over the cat's head, and then pull the straps through the plastic X-shaped thingy, and then under his front legs, click in place around his belly. Whew. Several scratches and one bite later, Oz hunkered down, belly to the floor in near paralysis. "I can't breathe in this thing," his eyes seemed to say, "and it's itchy. Why have you done this to me?" Cats, as you know, are robustly independent creatures, unaccustomed to having restrictions placed upon them. They roam as they please and generally do as they like, with the expectation that everyone else in the world will kowtow and meet their every demand. I quickly clipped the leash to the harness and opened the back door in anticipation of Oz's mad dash outside. Instead, there on the kitchen floor, with the door standing wide open, lay our fierce jungle beast staring up at me and then out the door and then up at me again, as if to say, "Are you kidding me? Okay, what's the catch?" His hesitancy got the better of me, and just as my dad threw me into the pool at my first time going swimming, I picked Oz up and plopped him down on the patio. He immediately scurried back into the kitchen with the skittish grace of a beached otter. With a sigh, I tied his leash to the doorknob and sat out on the patio playing on my phone. Eventually, with equal parts exhilaration and terror, he stepped outside cautiously and began exploring this strange new world on his own terms. It's a strange new world for all of us right now as well. As Americans, we treasure freedom above all else. But just like my cat Oz, we sometimes confuse the protective efforts of those with our best interests at heart as a means of subjugation. So, as we leave our homes and move forward, it is essential for each of us to do so at our own pace, as safely as possible, and not allow others to push us out before we're ready, or without the precautions that make us feel safe to do so. Folks, that's going to wrap things up for this month's monthly Marquee. In the meantime, until we see you next, we encourage you to check out the websites for Hardin County Playhouse, the Elizabethtown Performing Arts Center, and the Hardin County Schools Performing Arts Center, and particularly our Pack to Go page, where we offer activities and streaming events for you to enjoy from the comfort of your home. Until next time, this is Bart Levins with Hardin County Schools Performing Arts Center.